Sean Spencer. We on air, people. We are live. And welcome to Live with Sean Spencer, your boy. Yo, so glad to be here with you guys.
That sun shining on you. Always put yourself in a position where the sun shines on you.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy back again, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And if I'm here, you know it. It's 5 o'clock on Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to ya. Taco Tuesday for y'all. It is Tuesday, July 28th. We are a couple days away from August. Can you believe it? We are almost out of the month of July, and the heat tells you it's hot. It has been very hot. But listen, I am your boy, Sean Spencer, the host of Off the Wall Sports with Sean Spencer. You see it up there. We're part of Off the Wall Media on Off the Wall TV, and I'm here to talk a little sports. What's going on, people? How you been? How you doing? How's everything going with you? Hey, for me, my house, we good to go, man. We're here, and I'm excited about being here. And I got a couple things that I'm definitely going to dive into. So, hey, if you're here with me, say hello, say what's up, talk a little football with me because I got a couple things I want to get into. Definitely going to talk about some of the NFL, some of the things that are going on in the NFL as far as some of the five probably most impactful, the top 5 NFL trades that have happened up to this point. Also going to dive into Vita Vea requesting a trade. I alluded to it a little bit yesterday, right before I got off. So definitely going to check in with that. Let's see how everybody feels with that. And a couple of guys that are either getting paid. Some people got paid. Some people are looking for money. You know, people want to go different places. There's a lot of stuff to go on. And I'm going to dive into my look around the league, talking about the NFC East. Hey, you guys know it. Washington is here. So I want to dive into that, but also Philly, New York, and the dreadful Dallas, the Cowboys. Definitely got to talk about that stuff too. Sneaky, I see you're in the comments. What's going on? Hopefully your dinner with your folks goes well. Hey, but your boy is here, man. I'm going to chop it up with you guys for a little bit and then end with my famous one last word. So before I do any of that, I got to pay some bills. Shout out to my guy, Anton Benson of Awesome Artisans. Definitely going to want to get in touch with him if you need any work done. Definitely reach out to him. He is on Facebook. He's on Instagram. You're going to want to get at him. So I will be right back. Yeah, buddy. Shout out to my guy, Anton Benton of Awesome Artisans. Definitely going to want to get at him, talk to him, get whatever you can, get in touch with him, whatever you can get from him. He does great work, man. He goes he lives in the Virginia Beach area, but he'll travel up and down the East Coast, and he'll also go to and through the Midwest, man. I have had the pleasure of working with him time or two. Guy does great things, man. Hard work ethic, all about the grind, knows a lot about what he's doing. So definitely hyped about it. All right. It is Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, July 28th, which means we are about a week and 2 days away from the Hall of Fame game. Football is finally back, ladies and gentlemen. Training camp has started for most teams, and we are getting in here, and you're starting to see a lot of this stuff that's going on. But next Thursday will be the Hall of Fame game. Carolina playing Arizona and in Canton, Ohio, and I cannot wait. I did a little spotlight yesterday on Larry Fitzgerald. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about Drew Brees, quarterback for the Saints, and all the stuff surrounding him. So definitely pay attention, dive into that. It's going to be something cool to watch. But while we have that being at the Hall of Fame game, definitely want to shout out all of the Hall of Fame inductees that will be enshrined into the Hall of Fame. Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, like I talked about, Luke Kuechly from the Panthers, Adam Vinatieri, one of the few special teams players that gets inducted, and Roger Craig, the great running back from the San Francisco 49ers in the 80s, mid to late 80s, and played, I think, up until 92, 93, went to the Raiders for a year, and then went to the Vikings for 2 years. So shout out to all those guys. Congratulations on getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And like I said, I will be talking about Drew Brees tomorrow when I come on here and chat it up with you guys. But we got to get into this, ladies and gentlemen, because look, training camp is happening. We're definitely going to talk about who's doing what as far as the NFC East. That's something that it's extremely special to me because of the fact that it's Washington. Obviously, I love my Commanders, die hard, but Dallas, hey, they can get that defense right, they're primed and ready to go. We know how Dak and CD and Pickens and that offense is going. Philly, 2 years removed from their Super Bowl, they get bounced from the wild card a year ago. No more AJ Brown, but there are some moves they have been making, so that's going to be interesting in Philly. And then New York, new head coach, new regime, a lot of expectations. We know about some of the off-field stuff that was going on beforehand, but hey, let's see if that plays a part. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that. But definitely going to tie into that. But before we do that, we are going to look into a little bit of some off the field type stuff. Forgive me, I was writing some up. Look at some off the field stuff, some NFL off-season moves. Like I told you, we're also going to dive into the top 5 trades that happened going into this season and kind of dive into how they might impact the season going forward. But even beyond that, there's been a number of moves being made. First and foremost, I talked about this yesterday. Vita Vea, the stellar defensive tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has requested a trade. The 31-year-old defense tackle, been in the league 8 years, one of the most double-teamed guys in the league, but always shows out. I mean, he's a definite force. All the Buccaneers fans that I've talked to have said that he is the premier, D tackle. Once you have that, he definitely solidifies that line and not only stops the run, but also is a constant force. I mean, like I said, I think he's the second most double-teamed defensive tackle and still creating havoc, still causing problems for those other offenses. And listen, he stood to make about 18 mil, but the market right now for D tackles, it's moving up. All markets are moving up with all the money coming in. So I think the market's around 30 mil for these guys. So, obviously the contract extensions and things kind of he won that new deal. It didn't look like it's happening. So he at least requested a trade. So he looks like he's going to be moving on. A couple places that he's been looking at, him being from the West Coast. I've heard he's looked at Oakland potentially, as well as Las Vegas, Raiders essentially, San Fran, the Chargers, anything on that West Coast. it's going to be interesting to see if he kind of goes back over there. So he didn't participate in the spring program. He was there in minicamp, but he kind of did what Brandon Ayuk did a couple years ago with that. Instead of a holdout, he was a hold in. He was in there, but he didn't practice. He was just in street clothes and things of that nature. Unfortunately, they were not able to get a deal done. And hey, he's worth every penny. You saw me at the end of yesterday's show talking to Johnny Dean and some of the other guys that are big fans of Tampa Bay and kind of, what are their expectations, what they want to get back, what kind of money he's trying to make. And if you put this whole thing in perspective, you look at the Titans, they just re-signed D-tackle Jeffrey Simmons, right? Okay. 3-year, $105 million deal. They did that in June. That was when Vita Vea's, that's when he was looking for his new contract. And if you look at both of those guys and you put their numbers up against each other, I mean, it's fairly the same. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons had 109 rushes with our QB pressures, with about 26 of those facing double teams, and he's able to get 17 sacks. Vita Vea, 104 QB pressures, 29 of those he was double teamed, and he got 11 sacks. So you're really looking at guys that are right along the same line. So Vita Vea, and rightfully so, has a he has a gripe. He has, reason to have this concern and want to get that contract done. Now, why they haven't gotten it done, I'm not sure. Obviously, there's also, and Bucs fans will tell you, there's also a deal that needs to get done with the quarterback. Now, Baker Mayfield, he's won money. I think it's the money and the time that, they're not being able to work out. And shout out to my guy, Ben Cornett, host of Have At It, who talked about this a little bit ago. And it really depends. What do you want to do? How much longer do you have a Baker Mayfield? How much, has he hit his peak? Last year, he threw for, I believe, like 3,500 yards. They had just under 30 touchdowns. I mean, the guy clearly is the catalyst to that offense. And especially now that you're not going to have a Mike Evans, he's really going to show how much they need him in that offense. Now, word on the street is he will play on the franchise tag, but the guy definitely deserves to get paid. I'd love to see kind of how his career has gone. Obviously started at Cleveland, brought them from complete obscurity to getting them to the playoffs. Then they moved on from him. I think he went to the Panthers and the Rams at one point. And then finally he came over to Tampa, and he's really found a home in Tampa. So they definitely want to get that deal done. And I think between that one and the Vita Vea, unfortunately, the Vita Vea became the casualty. Now he wants to trade. He wants out. So he deserves the money he's looking for. A year ago, he had 42 tackles, I think, and 7 sacks. The guy is still a dominant force and definitely a run stopper. So, hey, we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with what's his name? Baker Mayfield. Tampa really is looking to kind of get these guys signed. They're trying to figure out who's getting, who they're going to put their money in and what kind of moves are they really trying to make going forward. Especially now you see, like I said, Evans is no longer there. So you have these situations where, Vita Vea might be the next on his way out. And hey, you want to keep Baker. So we'll see what happens with that. A couple other moves that happened. Eagles signed Jalen Carter, 4 years, $152 million deal. So, I mean, that's big. They locked down their big name D tackle. He's the highest paid D tackle now in NFL history. Obviously, we've known how dominant he is all the way back to his days at Georgia. Shout out to my guy Anthony Handy, called him Big Baby from Georgia, and we've seen how dominant he's been able to. Oh no, that's not Big Baby. That's Big Baby Days. That's his co-partner. Carter is not. He's the other guy that came out. Both very dominant forces in that defense. forgive me for that. I misspoke. Andy would torch me for that one. But yeah, Georgia's own Jalen Carter, who has been a dominant force in there, now the highest paid D tackle out of Philly, man. It's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be very interesting to see, what happens in Philly, and I'm gonna dive into a little bit of that. Can Philly get back to that form that they were just a couple years ago? It was not that long ago that, we're talking 2 years, 2024, when Philly, made it to the Super Bowl, dominated the Chiefs, beating them, 40-8 or something like that. I'm not exactly sure the score, but I mean, I know they put up at least 40 on them and totally just manhandled the Chiefs in that game. So, hey, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what this signing does and that move that was made. Another signing that happened today, the Vikings signed Brian O'Neill. He gets an extension, a $96 million extension, 4-year contract. That right tackle, Brian O'Neill. I mean, you talk about all the discussions. They've had many, many discussions trying to get this stuff done, but they get it done right as training camp is beginning, which is such a huge part. That's something they need. Obviously, we know they just picked up Kyler Murray, so you want to solidify that line. You want to make sure that he doesn't have to, Murray doesn't have to worry about that, so that he can stay healthy, stay upright. And obviously, now that you have, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, and obviously Justin Jefferson, you want Kyler Murray to be able to facilitate, the ball downfield to all those. So locking in this pick, this veteran is key move for them. So big move by those guys. I mean, and a lot of people are getting money. There's certain people that have not gotten paid yet or have not gotten a job yet. Obviously, Washington was tied with the whole Brandon Ayuk situation. Is he coming? Is he going? I stay in San Francisco. Obviously, speaking of like Vita Vea, that the hold in, he did that at camp, wanting a new contract, gets his new contract, and then gets hurt. Exact same thing happened to Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's injury was not as severe as Ayuk's, but but Ayuk definitely, it was a struggle, came back, and then really has been a lot of turmoil, a lot of issues in-house in San Francisco. And, he has been saying, I believe since the end of last season, hey, him and JD5 had played at Arizona State, and he was mentioned, hey, I want to come to DC. Or he's saying all these things. There's a lot of rumors about him saying he wanted to come play with JD5. He wants to come to DC. There's just a lot of drama that he brings to the table from what we've seen. Him in the front office and San Francisco have been going back and forth, and it really has not looked pretty with that whole situation. And I just don't think, with some of the things that we got going on, Quinn could potentially, his job could be on the line. Obviously, you got the new OC and David Blau. I just don't know if they really want those headaches in DC. I know we need a number 2, and there have been a lot of speculation about tying, Brandon Ayuk with JD5, but I personally don't want that move to happen. So we'll see what happens. I'm not in the front office, so what do I know? But being a diehard Washington fan, that is definitely something that I kind of have my eyes on, because look, Terry McLaurin is our number 1, and then after that, you have a bunch of younger guys. You have Christian McCaffrey, Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's brother. You have Antonio Williams, the 3rd-round pick out of Clemson. You have Jalen Lane. You have, a bunch of younger guys that we're really trying to work in, and, really want to see. I think Traylon Burks is another one. You want to see if we can get a number 2. I don't think that us making the move to get a kind of disgruntled wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk is the right move. Now, who knows what he'll do if he came over here, how well that would play. And he's still made many comments about, hey, wanting to go there. If things don't, things aren't working here in San Francisco, want to go over to DC. you can stay over there. In my opinion, hey, who knows what happens? Who knows if JD5 will be able to work with him and they'll be able to work it out. But as for how the situations have played out, man, I don't think it's the best move. Now, with that being said, there has been another name that has been tied to Washington, and that is Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is Maryland native. He came from the Maryland area, the DMV area, played his college ball at Maryland. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's been at Buffalo, Minnesota. You know, recently he was in New England and helped them get to the Super Bowl. The question is, if he came here, does he want to come here? Right now, there's been some interest. There's definitely been some interest in potentially bringing him back. And I know he's had interest, but you know, there was some off the field stuff that we had to figure out between him and the league. And then obviously we've had our names tied with Brandon Ayuk. But I think right now, you know, him being 33, him being around the league, he's ready to kind of come in potentially and be that number 2, knowing, you know, Terry McLaurin's the guy that he's our bell cow. Now you have a guy that's played, you know, he's 33 years old. He's had success elsewhere. For him to be able to come home and play for Washington, that could be huge, because this is definitely somebody that he'll easily absorb that veteran contract. He's one of those guys that he might not be the fastest, but he's a high volume wide receiver, great route runner, physical, somebody that can definitely help to take the pressure off of JD5 and take the pressure off of Terry McLaurin, you know, and maybe even help some of those younger receivers. So I like this potential move, bringing Stephon Diggs over here. I'm not sure if it will happen, but it's cool that he's already familiar with the area. It's cool that this is literally like him coming home, him being from the Maryland area, from the DMV, us, you know, playing in Landover and all that type of stuff. So I would love it if he were to come here, potentially be our number 2. That's another veteran that we could pair with Terry McLaurin, kind of take some of the coverages away from Terry McLaurin. Obviously, we also got the new tight end that can help stretch the field for us. So, and Rachaad White as running back, who we know is an excellent pass catcher as well. So let's see kind of how that plays out. I'm interested to see what goes on there, and we don't know if that move will be made, but if it happens, hey, I'm all for that. I am all for that. Another move, I believe they signed the Raiders. I believe they did sign Mendoza. I know, however, though, that Cousins, he gets the nod to start camp as kind of in the number running with the 1. So I don't know, you know, how they're going to play that going forward, but I think that's a big deal. Excuse me. I think that's a big deal, just in the sense that maybe they're not trying to throw Mendoza to the wolves right away. You know, Cousins, we know, is a vet. We know he's been around the league. His agent has been helping him to just clean up, and he's been getting nice payday after payday. And look, Cousins has struggled. Absolutely. He's definitely struggled over the last couple years, but the guy can still play. You have a great running back in Ashton Genty behind you, and you have 2 legit tight ends at Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers that you can definitely help you to kind of be safety valves for you. This is just training camp. We don't know what's going to happen as far as when the season comes, and we don't know the progression of Mendoza. How well is Mendoza, you know, as far as the chemistry with the different wide receivers, things like that. I will say that I am sure that those fans in Las Vegas are going to be itching to see the former Heisman, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, national champion Fernando Mendoza. Can he be the guy that they're expecting him to be? It's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see it. In other news, Daniel Jones coming back from that Achilles injury. He says he's fresh. He's ready to go. He's kind of get back into the groove of things. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how that plays out. You know, him, Riley Leonard are 1-2 kind of plan for the lead in Indianapolis. Can they do it? And then you also have Anthony Richardson. Unfortunately, things have not gone the way that Anthony Richardson has wanted to. I mean, the guy has, athletic freak. I mean, he's got the ability as far as athleticism, but it just has not seemed to work or translate on the field. Had that unfortunate injury a year ago, I think in preseason, where he got his eye poked and messed with, I believe, his retina or something like that. Like, it was just all this stuff where you're just like, here we go again, man. But I was one that thought, he came out, I don't know if it was too early or he was thrust into the role as the guy in the Colts, and it just never really panned out. And a lot of it was, the questions that we had on him. He quit on some of this, on some of the guys, and he kind of just took himself out and didn't play, and it just put them in a rough situation. Daniel Jones ended up coming in and actually playing well. Riley Leonard, while Daniel Jones was hurt, he ended up coming in playing well. So clearly 1 and 2 is Daniel Jones and Riley Leonard. And for Anthony Richardson, I mean, I know he's been looking at places where to go. I don't know where he would be a good fit somewhere, but I know with his athletic ability, he can play. I think it's just, what's between the ears and how that translates into the league. So it's going to be interesting. I'm eager to kind of see how that whole situation goes in Indianapolis. I'll be definitely diving into them in the coming weeks, or this week, definitely either this week or the middle of next week, diving into them, figuring out how does, Indianapolis work with that QB situation. And, Daniel Jones, hopefully he stays healthy. What happens if he gets hurt? Do the backups, how does that whole situation play out? It's going to be interesting just trying to dive into all of that and figure out what exactly is going to happen with that. I personally, I think it's a Daniel Jones job to lose as long as he's healthy. Riley Leonard, we've seen him in Notre Dame. He's a quality backup, definitely more mobile than having that passing prowess. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. You've had a couple. Now you're going into your second year. Let's see if Riley Leonard can produce in the big league. So that's going to be quite interesting going forward. But look, that was just a couple little off-season moves that have happened, and just a little something to nibble on. A couple of things that are kind of going on right now. There's not other moves, people being signed left and right, people looking for contracts, and hey, you're going to get a lot of these type of situations. I mentioned Christian Gonzalez also looking for an extension or looking, kind of get paid with the Patriots. Do they go ahead and make that move? These are all things that, you want to get done ahead of training camp, or at least early on in training camp. So you get your guys in there, you get them fresh, you get their legs under them. So you're not dragging this in to and through the preseason and into the season where now the guy might not get, the necessary time that he needs in practice and things like that, man. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. And we'll definitely be diving into that in the coming week and weeks, as training camp and then preseason goes right along. All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick breather. Gotta shout out the brand. Shout out to the Let's Talk Football brand. Myself, Janae Strother. We're going to be out here chopping it up with you guys this fall, man. Giving you all the hilarity, all the compassion, the banter, the jokes, the does that make me crazy, all of that. We're going to hit it, and hopefully you guys will tune in, man. Hey, this is Off the Wall Sports, but got to shout out my homegirl Janae Strother, because her and I, that's family right there. So tune into this, and we'll be back. Top 5 trades in the NFL going into the season. Be right back.
Episode of Let's Talk Football. Yep. I am Janae Strother.
I am Sean Spencer.
I am Janae Strother.
I'm Sean Spencer.
And this is Let's Talk Football. Season 3, we are back. We are back.
That's right.
What's up, Mom?
Go.
Mr. Nick stamping it, kids. How we doing?
Janae, Sean, thanks for having me.
To him.
You make the baseball, football, and basketball. Rich.
Is Carson back?
When everyone played to the last play, what's the one?
Yes.
There's other leagues like Ravens, Blues.
How hard is it for this guy? You know what I'm saying?
I would take the Cubs.
It's like we can't back up.
I know
Maybe you guys need to start wearing cream.
All right. I am Janae Struther,
I'm Sean Spencer.
and this is Let's Talk Football.
Yeah, buddy. Shout out to my homegirl today, Struther. I'm your boy, Sean Spencer. Let's talk football. We'll be back with you guys this fall, starting in September, diving into all of the news and notes and everything that will be going on coming into the season. I am so hyped to see what we're going to talk about. Obviously, Washington, obviously, Dallas, diving into all those things and really getting things going as far as, hey, who's taking the division. Obviously, I want to sit there and talk Washington and say we taking the division because I love my Commanders. But hey, I can't lie. Janae, them Cowboys looking all right. They are looking all right. I hate to say it, but that is where we're at, man. So look, it's your boy Sean Spencer. I am back, host of Off the Wall Sports with Sean Spencer. You see that on Off the Wall Media. And we are here chopping it up, talking some NFL news. Just talked a little NFL offseason news, some signings, some people looking for potential contracts, people looking to get paid. And, hey, there's a lot of people that want to eat. A lot of people that want to eat, or a lot of people that are trying to go elsewhere so I can get a little bit more money, man. It's going to be interesting to see where these people end up, where they end up, and how that affects these new teams, how these new teams, can accommodate these guys. I love this time of the year at one point because it really turns a lot of off-season chatter on its head. You know what I mean? Coming to the end of last year, obviously we had all this stuff that we wanted to say. DJ Pooh is in the building. What's going on, DJ Pooh? How you feeling, man? How you feeling? A lot of this stuff that we came in last year or ended last year trying to think, what's going to happen? Who's going to be the number one? Seattle, they're dominant. And then what happens? Right away, they release Kenneth Walker. And where does he go? He gets picked up by the Chiefs. You know what I mean? And you're sitting here like, whoa, wait a minute. Now, all of a sudden, you got a lot of moves being made, and we've seen it. We have seen the moves go. So let's dive into some of those moves. Let's dive into the top 5 NFL trades coming into 2026. Matt Bowen, one of the writers for ESPN, did his top 5 picks. So I'm just reading off some of the ones that he chose. And you guys let me know some of your top 5 trades that were made. He talked about signings. He talked about draft picks. So in the next couple of days, we'll definitely dive into draft picks. We'll definitely dive into signings because there was a number of signings that got made and brought to their different teams that definitely will play a major role going forward. I alluded to a couple of them just earlier today. The Kyler Murray signing, that one was a big one. I talked about Trey Hendrickson, that signing. So many big moves were made, and some of those were signed. So we'll definitely dive into some of those signings as we go in the next couple shows. But today we're just going to focus on the top 5 trades. Top 5 trades coming in to the 2026 season. See you, DJ Pooh. Appreciate the daily heart me. Hey, definitely hop in there and let me know your top 5 trades. Let me know some of the moves that you've been paying attention to in the offseason. See Ms. Lois Harrison watching. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well in the West VA. Hope everything is A-okay. Yo, but look, I'm gonna dive right into it. You see the names that are down there: Myles Garrett, AJ Brown, Trent McDuffie, Dexter Lawrence, and David Montgomery. I'll start off with obviously the biggest, the most polarizing move, the blockbuster move. Last year's defensive player of the year, breaks the single season sack record, getting 23 sacks. A guy that literally the beginning of the season, or what maybe the beginning of the season or beginning of the off season, restructures his deal, with the Browns. You're sitting here wondering, is he going to stay? What's going to happen? Well, the Rams went after him and they made a move. Big blockbuster trade. Traded Jared Verse and some picks to the Cleveland Browns for Myles Garrett, who will now be under defense coordinator Chris Shula. They really wanted a guy with this kind of impact on a team that is already right at the doorstep. You have the reigning NFL MVP and Matt Stafford. You're pairing him with the reigning defensive player of the year. First time that's happened since Steve Young and Deion Sanders came together in 1994. And what happened that year? The 49ers ended up beating the Chargers 49-26. Steve Young was the MVP in that Super Bowl, man, and Super Bowl 29. So look, this is where we're at, man. This was a huge move, blockbuster move. Everybody was just kind of taken aback. I remember seeing this like, wait, what? Are you serious? This is where he's going? And hey, that is so cool to see. Rudy, what's going on? Appreciate all y'all hopping in. Hey, the fact that Myles Garrett now is on the Rams, you've heard a lot of times people talk about super teams. A lot of times people talk about, this team is, these guys are just, all-star team, essentially. You look at what they have on offense in Matt Stafford. You look at Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. If everything comes right and he can get back on, the running game is legit. Now you go on the defense and you give Myles Garrett on there, Fisk in the middle, I support the chat balls. I need something to do with my feet. I respect. And I mean, just all of the pieces on this team. Now, obviously, there's been talk about, now that Myles Garrett is there, there's been talk about, will Aaron Donald come back? Will he come out of retirement? I've had people tell me it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen. Look, he obviously would want to. This would be a situation for him that would be highly beneficial, definitely favorable. They're definitely the favorites to make it. Obviously, that would reset the Hall of Fame thing, but for an opportunity to get another title, I mean, you're going to be in a tough division with a healthy San Francisco and the defending Super Bowl champ in the Seattle Seahawks. So it's going to be tough, but at the same time, when you start looking at some of the moves that were made, obviously you get another corner out there to help with that secondary. Who knows? And even if I'm not mistaken, Andrew Whitworth, the former O-lineman, said, it was a rumor that he had said, hey, there's potential. If Aaron Donald comes back, hey, I might come back. I mean, who knows? You get the band back together. Could the Rams get back to the Super Bowl? This is a step in the right direction, getting Myles Garrett there, and who knows what's going to happen after that. But that's by far has to be the number one trade coming into the 2026 season. Next, you got to go AJ Brown. And this is one that wasn't such a shock to everybody. I remember thinking about this before the draft, NFL draft. I thought, is it going to happen draft night? We know a couple years back on draft night, the Titans traded him to Philadelphia, and in a blockbuster trade, and all of a sudden Philly, starting to dominate. Philly goes on to a couple Super Bowls, winning this most recent one 2 years ago. And you had heard there were some murmurings that there was issues. Obviously, at the end of, I believe, 2023, I think it was, AJ Brown kind of sat out towards the end of the year, was dealing with a lot of mental health stuff. Then 2024, you win the Super Bowl. And then 2025, again, you hear these murmurings that there's issues in the locker room. There's issues off the field. You just don't know. And then towards the end of the year, A.J. Brown is basically making it known that he will not be back in Philadelphia. As soon as you go to the draft, there's all this talk. Is he going to get traded to draft? Is he going to get traded? Where is he going to go? They didn't know. Then you start to remember Vrabel has a connection with A.J. Brown. Where's Vrabel? He's over there in New England. And you start to have that rumor come out. And then as soon as that new fiscal year happens in June 1st, as soon as it switches over, A.J. Brown traded to the Patriots. And listen, that's a big move. Obviously, Stephon Diggs is no longer with the Patriots. Obviously, there's moves that you needed to get more wide receivers to help Drake May, him coming into, I believe, his third season now, really close to being NFL MVP a year ago, just lost out to Stafford, and now you're Matthew Stafford. And so now you give Drake May a solid, big, tall, fast wide receiver, and you give Drake May that guy, AJ Brown. Then you also give him, I think they signed Romeo Doubs from the Packers. You're starting to get a couple pieces that you can really work with Drake May. And I mean, he totally can elevate his game in year 2 with him and Josh McDaniels at OC. That I'm really looking for Drake May to elevate that passing attack. A lot of people are sleeping on him, saying, hey, once he gets a tougher schedule this year, New England's going to struggle. Hey, that might be so. It might be so. I know in the division, the Dolphins are very young. I talked about that yesterday. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be as big of a threat, if New England stays healthy and things like that. And then the Jets, they have pieces. The Jets, I think, could shock some people this year, but I'm still looking at New England being better than that. And then obviously with Buffalo, yes, new head coach, now going to potentially start to move into a new defensive scheme. Under McDermott, they ran that 4-3. Now they're going to potentially run into that 3-4. We'll see how that whole thing plays out. But A.J. Brown going to New England could be a major upgrade for the Patriots. Now, the question is, obviously, there was a lot of locker room issues and there was a lot of off-the-field stuff that was going on when A.J. Brown was with New England. Does that carry – with Philadelphia. Does that carry over to New England? That's a question. Now, obviously, it's a change of scenery. Him and Vrabel are good. They know each other. So who knows if he's gonna bring that stuff. You would hope that they wouldn't. You would expect that things would be a lot better over there. I know there was the issues between A.J. Brown and his quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Who knows what's going to happen now, but, hopefully, new area, new regime, new situation, maybe things will change in New England. So that is definitely probably the number 2 trade going into the 2026 season. Now, number 3 trade, it goes back to that first team. It goes back to the Rams. Trent McDuffie gets traded from the Kansas City Chiefs to the LA Rams, man. And this is a big move. The Rams struggled with their secondary. They struggled last year in their back end. And were definitely kind of bailed out by that dominant the front 7 and how good they were, Fisk and Jared Verse. Jared Verse, incidentally, being the other member and one of the picks on this list for the top moves to go in that trade. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But Trent McDuffie definitely adds a solid corner help to the Rams. I mean, this guy is definitely sticky on those quick routes, easily able to, create problems there. And then he can carry that wide receiver deep. Like, he can truly go toe-to-toe with those guys deep. McDuffie is a definite upgrade to the Rams and that defense. We know that they absolutely need need help on the back end. And this is a big move for them, in my opinion. I've always been a big fan of Trent McDuffie coming out of Washington, University of Washington, and I wanted him out of the draft. He was one of the guys I was looking at to come to Washington, the Commanders. But, the Chiefs ended up picking him up. So, hey, this is a big move for them. I think this is going to be such a help and such an upgrade for the Rams. And again, it's solidifying that defense, a defense now that you have a Myles Garrett, Fisk, you have some other cats, and then you bring him, Trent McDuffie, back there. That's going to be nothing but a help. And you start to look, I think that dream team, that super team that we started to talk about, you start to see some of the pieces. If these guys can stay healthy and live up to the expectations, I mean, they're going to be a defense definitely a defense that should dominate. That should dominate, man. So look, let's go to number 4, and this is one that people go back and forth on. The Bengals selected Dexter Lawrence. Now, I talked about that a week ago. They selected Dexter Lawrence. They traded for him from the Giants. Obviously, some trades, some draft picks. Big move. They struggled mightily on defense and every facet. Now their secondary was it DJ Turner and Hill. Those guys. They actually held their own. But the problem is, you had that at front 7 that really was struggling, with the exception of Hendrickson, obviously. But Hendrickson was hurt, so he couldn't give you everything. The 2 years before, he had 17.5 sacks, both of those years, in 23 and 24. But 25, obviously, is hurt, and now obviously he's not even. He's in Baltimore, and we'll discuss that in signings tomorrow. But Dexter Lawrence, who, if healthy, obviously he was hurt. Obviously, things didn't really pan out in New York. If healthy, Dexter Lawrence is an elite D tackle. He is definitely somebody that is going to upgrade that defense and definitely help along that D line. On top of now, they also brought in Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen, we had him in Washington from Alabama. We know how dominant he is over there. He was with Minnesota, I believe, a year ago. Jonathan Allen paired with Dexter Lawrence in the middle is going to be a huge, huge help and improvement to a struggling Cincinnati Bengals defense. And we already know you're getting a healthy Joe Burrow. You're getting Higgins at wide receiver. That you locked him down. You locked Jamar Chase down. Your offense should be on par to be legitimate. The question is, what is your defense going to look like? And this is a big help, in my opinion, to definitely get. This is a big help, in my opinion, for the Cincinnati Bengals. You also bring in former Seattle Seahawk Boye Mafe, who's definitely coming the edge, coming outside linebacker, help with that stuff going on, man. I'm very eager to see how Dexter Lawrence comes back this year. Does he come back at elite form? Can he help a very weak Cincinnati defense? Because you got to be honest, if Cincinnati gets some semblance of a defense right now, Cincinnati, I mean, they could be a problem. And I have looked at them as another one of my dark horses. Obviously, Houston is a dark horse for me, and Cincinnati could be another one. We know the offense can put up 35, 40 points a game when they're on the top of their game. Now, if you have a defense that can also start to give the offense more possessions and make some key stops, that could be huge for Cincinnati going forward. And those 3 pieces are big moves that I believe are going to help Cincinnati immensely. I think they are going to do wonders, for Cincinnati on defense. So let me know, guys, what you guys think for Dexter Lawrence. Now, I alluded to this earlier. Part of that Myles Garrett trade, draft picks were a part of it that the Browns got as compensation for Myles Garrett. But another thing that the Cleveland Browns was young former Florida State edge rusher and Jared Verse. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be electric, in my opinion. Obviously, you lose a Myles Garrett, a generational talent, a dominant player, defensive player of the year, broke the sack record. We know how great Myles Garrett is. And I think a lot of people in the shadow of Myles Garrett, you might be sleeping a little bit on Jared Verse. Jared Verse was highly sought after coming out of Florida State. Jared Verse is electric. One of these guys that is totally a game changer, in my opinion. Young, he's physical. I mean, he's an every down player. 2024 is Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, Jared Verse, in my opinion, I think the Browns got a huge pickup there. I think the Browns got a huge pickup getting them, and obviously you can't. Obviously, you cannot. You can't replace a Myles Garrett. Like I don't even begin to think that I'm going to sit here and say, oh, Jared Verse is going to be the answer to the hole that Myles Garrett's going to leave. No, not saying that at all. I am saying, however, that Jared Verse absolutely will help to lessen that blow. We'll see what the picks do. We'll see what some of the other moves do. Obviously, when I gave you my list of top 10 linebackers, I think Schlesinger is one of the top 5 linebackers. You keep him healthy. Jared Verse on that line. Ward in that secondary. You got pieces there that could potentially get the Browns on a good spot. You know, I don't want us to sleep on Cincinnati or on Cleveland. You know, obviously, big loss. But think about the money that frees up. Think about the picks you're getting, and you're also getting a legit Jared Verse. In his first 2 years, 12.5 sacks, 99 pressures. The guy can play, and he can play at a high level. You're getting him every down. I think that is going to be a big move. I absolutely think it's going to be a big move. And hey, only time will tell. Only time will tell. We'll definitely see going forward, but I think it's going to be a big move. But my number 5 trade of this offseason, and this is Matt Bowen made this list as an ESPN writer. You know, I agree with a number of the direction and how the list is laid out. And there's a couple more names out there. I think Rashawn Gary is one of those guys. I believe there's somebody else down the line. I have to go back and look. But the last one on this list, and I shout out to my guy, Nine the Poet. I talked to him a couple days ago. We got to look at, as another guy on this list, David Montgomery. David Montgomery, for those you know, running back from the Lions. We've known how great he's played over the last couple years. And this is a place in Houston where he's going where he went that struggled on the ground game. We know about CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. If they're going to get him back healthy. I don't know if you've seen the clips of him running routes and working with Matthew Golden. I mean, he looks, those routes look crisp, and he looks like he's back up to par now. You know, he dislocated his kneecap, tore his ACL, MCL, PCL. You know, that's a lot to come back from, but it's definitely good to see him back out there. If you get that wide receiver, that wide receiver in that passing game going, you have Schultz at tight end. You get CJ Stroud going. If you can give them an O-line, I mean, that Braden, I think, who is it? Braden Smith, a guy that they just signed. And who else did they have? I'm trying to go back and look through my notes real quick. Who else did they pick up? Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller, 3-time Pro Bowler. You know, Ariante Irsay at Ingram. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of cats. Or no, Ingram was a 3-time Pro Bowl, I believe. I got to ask my guy Nine about that. Forgive me for being wrong. Don't come at me. But yeah, you definitely, if you can get that line going, and then now you add in this trade of David Montgomery, that is going to be electric. I mean, we're talking about a team that had under 4 yards on the ground, like per average. You know, I believe it was like 3.8, 3.9 average yards rushing, you know, per game. Like these guys per carry in 2025. These guys struggled on the ground. Obviously, they picked up Nick Chubb. That didn't work out for him. they are with the injuries and him trying to recover and come back. Woody Marks was definitely a good change of pace back, but you just weren't able to kind of replicate that real dominant run game that you need in order to kind of help the pass game and keep that balance. So they had to rely on the pass. Bringing in David Montgomery, that is both a solid runner and also great in the pass game, is such a big move. And we've seen the guy's effective in the red zone. Over the last 3 years, he's had over 30 touchdowns, I think 33. The guy can ball, man. The guy can play without a shadow of a doubt. And look, for my money, I really believe this guy could be great. I think this guy could be great. So we're going to see. Those are the top 5 moves going forward, and we're going to take a quick breather, and we will be right back. Yeah, buddy.
Are you good with this? Are you excited about this?
Absolutely. I will talk about anything. Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Truth Be Told, where honestly, it's in the name.
Yeah, buddy, that was Truth Be Told. That was Truth Be Told. Shout out to my guy Nicholas Rosario, and it's your boy Sean Spencer. And look, that's just a show where we discuss just anything, news, notes, things that really actually that's more about just kind of conversations that men, maybe neglect to have. Talking about different things in life, talking about different things as far as issues that we might have that we may not get talked about. So, talk about, body image, talk about mental health, talk about loss, talk about politics, whatever it is. A lot of that is for Truth Be Told. And hey, look, that's something that I'm very eager to get back to. We will be getting together on Thursday and talking about, is the NFL fixed? I know, crazy with all the sports betting. Obviously, he's a big baseball fan, Pete Rose and all that stuff with him and gambling. You have Donnie Heat, the guy, the NBA official that came out with it. And then obviously we talked earlier about the Sorsby situation, the Brendan Sorsby situation. Gambling is all over the league, all over college, pro, all different sports. So definitely begs the question, are there fixes? We know about how boxing was back when. It's just interesting. It's an interesting thought. Very interesting thought. But look, this is your boy Sean Spencer. I am here, part of Off the Wall Media, Off the Wall Sports, chopping it up with you, man. Just trying to see everything is good. And you know what? Actually, matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and cut this thing short today. I am going to come back because I got to talk NFC East. I got to give you my one last word and do all that. But right now, we're going to cut this thing a little bit short. And so, hey, we'll chop it up with you another time, man. I hope you enjoyed it. Talked a little bit of NFL talk, but we'll come back with you maybe today, maybe a little bit later tomorrow. I don't know, but I will let you guys know. So, hey, for your boy Sean Spencer, appreciate y'all hopping in here with me. I will definitely see y'all on the flip side. Peace, my people, and I'll be back.
Gentlemen, it is your boy Sean Spencer. We on air, people. We are live. And welcome to Live with Sean Spencer, your boy. So glad to